meet Sarah Chun, a 34-year-old software engineer from Seattle. On paper, she had everything figured out: a successful career, a loving family, and a beautiful home in the suburbs. But one ordinary Tuesday morning, everything changed because of something so simple, so preventable, that it still serves as a powerful lesson today. Sarah's morning started like any other. She woke up at 6:30, made coffee, and began her usual routine. Her 2 children, Emma and Jack, were getting ready for school. Her husband, Tom, was already at work. It was a normal day until it wasn't. The problem began with something we all do without thinking: multitasking while distracted. Sarah was running late. She had an important presentation at 9 and still needed to drop the kids at school. In her rush, she grabbed her phone to respond to what seemed like an urgent work email. Just one quick message, she thought. It would only take a second. While typing on her phone, Sarah was also trying to locate her car keys, help Emma find her homework, and remind Jack about his piano lesson. Her attention was split in 5 different directions. That's when she made the critical error. Sarah had been heating up some food on the stove for the kids' lunch boxes. In her distracted state, she completely forgot about it. The pot sat on the burner, heating up, while she focused on everything else happening around her. Here's what makes this story so important. There were multiple warning signs that Sarah missed because her attention was divided. First, there was a faint smell beginning to develop in the kitchen. But Sarah was so focused on her phone and the morning chaos that she didn't notice it. Second, her kitchen timer had actually gone off 3 minutes earlier, but she'd silenced it without thinking, planning to check in just a minute. The human brain, despite what we like to believe, cannot effectively focus on multiple complex tasks simultaneously. Research from Stanford University has shown that people who regularly multitask are actually worse at filtering out irrelevant information and switching between tasks than those who focus on one thing at a time. Sarah was experiencing what psychologists call continuous partial attention, a state where we're constantly scanning for opportunities and alerts, but never fully present in any single moment. So what's the one simple rule that could have prevented Sarah's close call? Never leave cooking food unattended, especially when distracted. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Yet, according to the National Fire Protection Association, cooking equipment is involved in almost half of all home fires. The leading cause, unattended cooking. This single rule, consistently followed, prevents thousands of emergencies every year. It's not complicated. It doesn't require expensive equipment or special training. It just requires making a commitment and sticking to it. Fortunately for Sarah, her story has a positive ending. Her smoke detector, which she had tested just a month before, activated with its loud, persistent alarm. The sound immediately snapped her out of her distracted state. She quickly turned off the stove, removed the overheated pot, and opened windows to ventilate the kitchen. There was no fire, no injuries, and minimal damage. But Sarah was shaken. She realized how close she had come to a serious emergency, all because she broke one simple rule. The incident served as a wake-up call, not just for Sarah, but for everyone who heard her story. Understanding why this rule is so important requires looking at how quickly situations can escalate. When cooking oil reaches its smoke point, it can ignite in a matter of minutes. Food left unattended can burn and produce thick smoke that reduces visibility and creates respiratory hazards. The human reaction time in emergencies is typically 2 to 3 seconds. But that's assuming you're present and aware. When you're in another room or deeply focused on something else, those seconds multiply into minutes, Fire safety experts emphasize that prevention is exponentially more effective than response. A fire that never starts is infinitely easier to manage than one you're trying to extinguish. Applying this rule to your life, Sarah's experience led her to implement several practical changes in her household. She established a no phone in the kitchen while cooking policy. If she needs to check her phone, she turns off the stove first. This simple boundary eliminates the primary source of distraction during meal preparation. She uses visual reminders. A small sign on her stove reads, "Stay in the kitchen," as a constant prompt to remain present while cooking. This external cue helps override automatic behaviors. She plans her cooking time better. Instead of trying to multitask during meal prep, Sarah now dedicates specific time blocks to cooking without other competing demands. This reduces the temptation to divide her attention. Most importantly, she taught her children about kitchen safety. Emma and Jack now understand that when mom is cooking, they should save non-urgent questions for later. This family-wide awareness creates an environment that supports safe practices. The ripple effect of one rule. What's remarkable about Sarah's story is how one rule created positive changes throughout her entire household. By committing to staying present while cooking, she became more mindful in other areas of life too. She noticed she was more engaged during conversations with her children. She was more focused during work meetings. She felt less stressed because she wasn't constantly trying to do everything at once. The simple act of following one safety rule had taught her the value of single tasking and full presence. Your turn to make the commitment. Every person watching this has probably been in Sarah's situation. We've all tried to squeeze just one more task into an already full moment. We've all thought, "I'll just be a minute while something important is happening." The question isn't whether you've been distracted while cooking. The question is, what will you do differently going forward? The beauty of this rule is its simplicity. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need special training. You just need to make a commitment and honor it, creating lasting change. Behavioral psychology tells us that lasting change requires three elements: a clear trigger, an easy behavior, and an immediate benefit. The trigger: turning on your stove or starting to cook. The easy behavior: staying in the kitchen and remaining focused on cooking. The immediate benefit: peace of mind, better food, and a safer home. By connecting these three elements, you create a habit that becomes automatic over time. Sarah S.'s story illustrates a fundamental truth. The most dramatic emergencies are often prevented by the most ordinary precautions. You don't need heroic measures. You need consistent, simple practices followed every single time. One simple rule: never leave cooking unattended. It could prevent an emergency in your home just as surely as it did in Sarah's. The choice is yours. Will you commit to this rule today? Will you share it with someone you love? Will you be the person who prevents a crisis rather than responds to one? Sometimes the most important decisions we make are the smallest ones. Sometimes the biggest difference comes from the simplest rule consistently followed. Your story doesn't have to include a close call to be meaningful. Let it be the story of prevention, awareness, and the wisdom to follow one simple rule that protects everything you hold dear.